And this is our community call for USHS number 4. Woohoo! November 20th, 2018. Welcome, you guys. And here comes Erica, too. So how's it going? Did everybody get into the third module?
I'm into it a little bit.
Yeah. How is it?
I'm having trouble finding my go-to emotion, I guess.
Well, that's the perfect topic for today.
Yep.
So we'll look at that.
Okay.
Hi, Erica. Hi. Well, I know Linda and James probably know their go-to emotion, huh? Or is it changing?
No, still fear.
Still fear.
Yeah, so's mine. Welcome to the club.
Yeah. Now, is the favorite meridian, is that, well, we haven't gotten there yet, but is it bladder or kidney more for you, Linda? And James?
I just do them both.
Yeah.
Good plan.
Yeah, I just go to the goal, the bladder, and then kidney.
Yeah.
I think Gracie's is fear also. We've been running hers.
Oh, I think so too. I think
That's her dog.
Did she get better after the commotion?
Yeah, she is better actually.
Oh, that's good. Dogs respond well to meridian running. Good. So does anybody have does anyone, hi Maureen. Erica, have you been able to get to module 3? I know you've been really, really busy.
No, let's see. No, I've been actually, I'm just trying to catch up with module 2 right now.
Oh,
so
good job.
I'm getting there. I'm so thankful that they're open for me to revisit because I definitely want to dive in. I've been finding interesting things about the gallbladder, liver meridians, and I thought my push was fear, but maybe it's anger that masks itself as frustration. I'm not sure. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, you'll get deeper in there. So Ray, what is your questions about the go-to emotion?
Well, I watched the video on module 3 about fear and rage, and I just don't see myself in either one of those. But I have had for a long time anxiety, which is comorbid with my depression.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see a connection between outcomes and emotions connected to fear. But it was, it was scary reading that. I mean, I've never felt that. So, and the same thing with anger. I mean, I get angry about things all the time, but not, just not an all-consuming rage or.
Does it ever come out at the wrong target, just even regular anger or? That's what we find happens to us is sometimes it's, kind of the anger kind of bubbles over and then I can lash out at Greg when it's really something else altogether.
Perhaps. I don't know. Maybe I'm so repressed I don't recognize it. I mean, I don't get angry very often.
One of the things about anger, because I know it's my go-to emotion, is that I'll get angry at stuff. If I were to really look at it and think, should I be angry about this? If it's something out in the world, I have no control over it. Or if it's something that's kind of, part of the mechanics of my day, or something doesn't go the way that I wanted it to, and I get angry at that. But really, the deep down thing for me when I get angry is I'm angry about not getting to the most important things in my life, or having somebody, feeling like somebody repressed me from doing that. And so those are like huge, big issues, but I never get angry about, somebody having, not supported me at a point in my life when it was very important for me when I was young, or nurturing me to do something that was in my wheelhouse. So it's like we don't even think about that stuff because it's too painful. But when we become aware of that stuff, then it starts to have an effect on us where we realize that anger is coming up about things that aren't really important.
Is resentment a more subtle form of anger? I forget. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yep. I'm the queen of resentment. And it's interesting to look back, but that is really a habit that happens to people, is that resentment over things that I never did, or it's like regret, and your brain can go ahead and say, oh well, that's futile to be angry at something that I can't have control over now. But it is a habit as well to just bring that resentment, especially against people close to you, having resentments about maybe what you didn't do because that person was there, because you got together, or because you did a certain action. So,
or because your parents favored one of the other kids, or you didn't get all the opportunities that they did, or you got all the opportunities and you felt bad about your siblings, or that's not usual that would come up, but it's all tied into these things that went on when we're younger that we now look at and go, well, that was not such a big deal. I'm okay now. But how that shaped and formed our future that we're in now, and how we react to what we want and what we get, and how we offer our gifts to the world, that's what we're looking at, how to clarify what's really best for us and how to live the life we've dreamed of. So that's what the lessons are all about, is uncovering the things that keep us from moving forward in a way that's really powerful.
Anybody else feel resentment about anything? Linda?
Well, it used to show up for me a lot due to withholds.
Oh,
Not saying what I wanted or needed, and then being resentful about it.
Oh.
yeah.
He didn't read my mind.
Right, exactly. What's wrong with you?
Greg and I still do that. We're like, go get the thingy. and we're like, what are you, finally we're like, okay, thingy. Just really trying to clarify that communication. But what about anybody else in resentment?
Well, I remember a childhood experience. My grandparents had a bungalow at the Jersey Shore, and they would, my cousin, who's a couple of years older, lived with them, so he got to go down there all the time, and it was I resented that because it was a really special place. I mean, you'd laugh if you saw it today, but yeah, I resented him for that because I would have to hint around and ask and whatnot to go. And, I'm sure because he was older, he wasn't happy when I was around that. But it just, it kind of nagged at me as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how it comes out. What about anyone else with that?
Well, this is Jackie. I feel anonymous because I can't get my picture to show up, but I'm here. And while we were there at the weekend, I asked Greg about resentment, and I was working with my relationship with Dick Grant.
Oh,
and you two would recognize that I could be resentful of things in that relationship. Of there I am volunteering to help and put a lot of effort into it, and be totally unappreciated.
yeah.
And ragged on a lot. And, it was, I don't think I really felt angry. I just felt like, wow, would you just open your eyes and see how people are really helping you? But, you know, that was probably the biggest example of it, and dealing with it for over the years too. So I think it was probably 3 or 4 years that I was involved with that, with the organization, and in helping keep it afloat.
Yeah. And you did a lot of work. Yeah. And there wasn't much payback there.
No, not much.
But
Yeah.
you were the target of his personality quirks.
Well, and the payback, I got lots of payback from other people. It was just that him being the director, you know, we were stepping on each other's toes all the time.
Yeah. Trying to, right there, I'm asking you to start video and see if that works for you. Yeah, anybody there?
What was that all about?
I don't know, but I pushed the
every
ask,
button there was.
I pushed the ask to start video button, and then
Excellent.
there it did. Okay, good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else with about resentment? Oh, a little frozen there. That happens when sometimes when you turn the video on, then the internet gets a little sticky. Yeah, so I think that resentment kind of falls easily into place when you're talking about the stomach and the spleen meridian, which was the module 3 emotions or meridians that we're looking at. And who remembers what the primary feature kind of the stomach and the spleen meridian, or not feature so much, but attribute of the stomach and spleen?
I'm
Or what? Yeah, go ahead and cheat.
Read them.
Open book test.
Reading's okay.
So the positive attributes are about nurturing and honoring oneself.
Yes. And so that's the word that always is at the top of my mind when I think of the stomach and the spleen meridian. And the stomach, you can make a memory aid because, of course, when you eat and it goes into your stomach, you're nurturing yourself. And that's the most fundamental way to nurture your body. So that's how I originally memorized it. And stomach and spleen being the pair, and stomach so much representing a parent's nurturing or a partner's nurturing, and then when it comes really down to it, the nurturing of yourself. And then spleen on the other side is, why is this happening to me? And if you go to the extreme, it's self-pity. If you want, if you get more negative about it, say it's self-pity. But on the other side, it's just feeling sorry for your being in the situation or feeling the way you are.
Why are they doing this to me?
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you see anybody with a pity party, say, run your spleen meridian, buddy.
What's a spleen?
Spleen is almost always one that comes up when we work on people, and it's so common, and it shows up in tight muscles quite a bit. The muscles that go down the spine that connect the shoulder blades to the spine. So it's a bunch of the rhomboid muscles and also the big latissimus muscles on the side of the arm that come in and they help you row and chop wood and that type of movement. And people will get really kind of like, why are you doing this to me? And they get stuck there. So those tight muscles in it, it's in such varying degrees that we have these feelings of somebody's after me, somebody's doing something or trying to, some type of retribution against me. And it's usually just their personality, traits, that they're afraid of something and they're thinking they're going to lose something. So they act weird. but we take it as it's something that they're doing against me.
Yeah. Does that make, yeah.
Anybody ever have those feelings, or when you hear people, yeah. This is like family stuff. Anybody want to share what maybe has happened in families or with friends with that stuff?
No names required.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like in my past, in my family, definitely, you know, I've been the giver and taking care of everybody and the buffer between my family a lot. So in the end, I do have sometimes those thoughts of, why is this happening to me? Because there's a lot happening to me, but it's not necessarily, I'm working through this life and figuring it out. But I also, on some side, feel like it's okay to have that, why is this happening to me moment, and just like feel that and be in that for a minute and let it go and honor that, because it's a real thought. I mean, sometimes when, you know, you've had, you know, death and tragedy and different things happen one after the other, it's just, that's a normal, what I feel like should be a normal emotion.
Right.
But,
Absolutely.
you know, it definitely does stick in there, and like you're a little bit more sensitive with yourself and your friends or your family, like, oh, they're acting a little weird. This is my best friend who's helped me through all of these things. Their energy is a little different, and I pick up on the other things. I'm like, what did I do? Is it me? Like, and that's the people pleaser part. And I definitely hold a lot of the shoulders and things like that. So it's interesting when I'm reading most of these meridians and stuff, Chinese medicine. My liver gallbladder has been a mess for years, but that's getting better. But now my spleen and my stomach are happening. So it's really interesting to see the parallel of all of these Eastern, Western, and real life thoughts and emotions. Sorry, that really went on a tangent, but that's kind of what came up for me.
It really is.
So let's look at, is anybody interested in kind of hearing a little bit about how that feeling when you're the one who helps everyone, and then it seems like they don't appreciate it, or there's some, you know, it's like they don't acknowledge in a certain way. And then as you go down the line in life later on, and I think Erica is really accurate where you're saying, well, you know, it's, of course those things come up. You know, family members act out a certain way, and it is going to make you feel bad or make you feel less than, you know, appreciated. And you kind of think, well, why are you doing this to me? I'm the one who helped you all the time, right?
Right.
So what makes it sticky and more difficult is that the stuff happened throughout our lives, and the ones that were further back and some of the original times when we felt that way were times when we didn't have the tools that you have now. So you think about it now and you think, well, I should just be able to handle it. What's, you know, it isn't a big deal. I'm grown up now.
Right.
But the difficulty is when it happens, your mind goes bing, 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 and it finds all the times, and it goes back to the one that it has to protect you about the most.
Right.
And that was the one when you didn't have the tools.
Right.
So that's when you get the pendulum out and you say, body, is there a time when this started? Because when you get the feeling is when your body's saying, hey, let's check this out. So then you do a little muscle testing. So is this before I was 10? Yeah. Is it before 5? No. Was it 5? No. At 6? No. At 7? Yes. Wow, what happened at 7? And then you don't have to remember, because a lot of those things are a little repressed, but something you could ask, is it about school? Is it about family? And your body, when it comes up with that, then you might want to ask, should I run a meridian about this? And then it might say, yeah, I'll run. And then you guess, is this about spleen meridian? And then if yes, is it okay to run this? Yes. Are there any cords, which is one of the things for this week's lesson? If there's cords, you take them out of your chakras, and then you run the spleen meridian. And your body says, oh my God, I don't have to point at that anymore. And it updates. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm just hoping, I'm like, how long do updates last? Hopefully they last a very long time.
So here's the thing. So people ask this a lot over the weekend. So is this thing done now?
Yeah.
And the reality is, it's now in your awareness as a person who can use the tools that you have now, instead of the thing whacking you back to this other time and these other feelings that you feel out of control because you didn't have the tools. Now when that comes up, you go, oh, I see that. I'm aware of that because I worked on that. And then you do your best.
Right.
And you just keep doing your best and you keep working on it because your body is like, oh, here's another time that it looks like that, but it's not as bad now. So now we're aware of it. Now start letting go and you're healing more and more.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Yeah, Linda.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've had a similar pattern. I refer to it as codependency, and you know, I've worked on it a lot over the years, and it shows up in more and more subtle ways. But as we're talking about it, I'll have to go back and, you know, do some testing of, you know, when did that start and do some clearing, because it's definitely still present. I think it probably underlies the challenge I have about carving out, making time for my own creative endeavors. You know, it's easy for me to say yes to supporting other people or volunteering or that kind of thing.
Right.
And, you know, one of the classic phrases that, you know, if I catch myself saying, after all I've done for you,
Right.
Yeah.
I know that it's like ding, 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 you know, that there's my intention isn't pure. You know, I'm not giving just for the sake of giving because it feels good. There's strings in some regard.
Yeah, or you're just, you know, you're not getting you probably started it with a very pure intention, and then it wasn't fed back to you with that same energy. You know, and then if they start, then it starts feeling like an obligation almost.
Right.
And then when the obligation starts happening, then that's when the resentments really just, you know, start firing up with, and phrases like that is what the resentment, you know, shows.
Yeah.
I'm getting better. You know, I volunteer a lot at our church, and you know, it's easy for people to start to expect more from me than, and you know, it's like I'm getting better at saying, it's like, no.
Enough already.
This
Yeah,
is
that was
as much as I can do.
yeah, the whole boundary thing.
Yeah.
And I think Maureen had the thing with the kitties sensing some boundaries that they could possibly cross.
Maybe.
Maybe
Well, I
not.
had an awareness just as you guys were talking. When I had my session with you a couple weeks ago, it came up about when I was 5 and why is this happening to me? And I just realized that at that point is when I decided that I had to be perfect so that it wouldn't keep happening to me. And now I think that's the root of all my anxiety. Is it starts there of trying to be perfect and trying to make everybody happy. And I couldn't do it. I was only 5. But that's a big insight that it started
Really
there.
good.
That's huge. And have you muscle tested it yet?
I just did it. Did you see me grinning?
Oh, and did you ask, is that when it started?
Yes, that's what I was asking. Yes.
Perfect. Whoa, and then you're going to go and clear all the meridians from that time, right?
Yes. Yep.
And you'll go and always, do I need to clear spleen? Yes. Are there cords?
Right.
And you do that.
Ask each one. Yeah.
Is there another meridian that I need to clear like that?
Uh-huh.
Perfect.
I have
Yes.
a little insight to share on that too, and because this resonates with me well. It's like At my 7-year-old self, I was put in a position to be a co-parent, and I didn't know any different. I mean, that's when it kind of started for me. But I feel like a lot of the times when I'm helping other people, the intention is pure for sure. But I feel I'm learning recently in the last few months or even weeks, even just having small conversations with y'all too, is I think a lot of it is I do want to help, and that's just my go-to thing, because I need to fix everything and help and make everybody feel good, and I don't do that for myself. And that's a big thing. Like, what am I afraid of to look into myself, to nurture myself? And that's like pretty profound for me. I don't know the answer. It's probably going to involve some tears, I'm sure. But it's just really interesting to me. And my close friends like know that about me. They're like, okay, you're doing too much. Like, maybe you can say no. And I'm like, it's really hard for me to say no to people and stand up for not even stand up, but like just not give so much of myself, to my own health and well-being. So it's something I'm learning, but it's interesting to see the relationship, I guess, in that.
Absolutely. I mean, and I think that's a lot of what Linda, was saying about the codependency. And I have had a huge history of putting everyone. What's that?
Wasn't me.
No.
I don't know. I heard something in the background, but I don't know where it came from.
Yeah, me neither. So that's just an incredibly huge realization for you. I really applaud that to see that and to see how hard it is really for you and your body to, as we get older, maintaining everybody else's energy and well-being gets pretty exhausting.
It does.
Is depleting.
Yes.
So one of the things about these aspects, what everybody was just saying, Linda and Erica, when you have that feeling like I'm giving, oh, they don't appreciate it. It's depleting. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So when that depletion, the way that it shows up in the spleen and pancreas is that it dulls your immune system. Mm-hmm. So a way to like fortify your life so that you fill yourself up first and then you feel like it can overflow to everything else is to work with the spleen, pancreas, and the stomach meridian. And it sounds like it's so great because I hear people saying, I want to do this and I want to be better with this and my history is this and I'm really aware of how these things are in interpersonal relationships and how my life has been, how it came from the family. And then it's kind of like, so what do I do? And so when you listen to somebody like Chopra, and I mentioned this weekend, he says, you meditate and it fixes everything. What we're finding is that there's another level that our body really talks through our meridians in the way that we react to life and the way that our muscles either tight or loose or in balance, and the way that our immune system and our health reflects through all of that stuff. So our body's talking to us. What we're learning is that we can run meridians and have a conversation with our body, and that's the fix.
Mm-hmm. So let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do the stomach meridian. Shall we do that?
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
We're all going to run it. So it starts at the cheeks, and we go from the cheeks down to the jaw. We're going to go up in front of the ears, right up into the temples, and then we're going to come down the same direction. So we go into the jaw. Now we go into the neck and to the middle of the clavicle, the collarbone. Then we're going to go out on the clavicle. And I'm just going to step over here so you can see me a little bit more.
I'm not your cameraman this time, honey.
No, you're not. Then we're going to go over the nipples. And it goes in a little bit. And now we're going to go to the outer part of the leg, but not in the back, but in the upper outside. We're going to go to the second toe. And then we're going to go up the inside of the big toe and right up the leg, up the spleen pancreas meridian. So when spleen pancreas meridian goes through the pelvis, then it's going to go right underneath the breast and into the armpits and out to the side of the rib cage. Let that go.
Wow.
So this is a great one to just do, like, this is great to do on a daily basis and really effective when we talk to our body, because it has such a specific approach to how to make what's happening in your day more, bring that more into your awareness of how what's happening in your life can be affected by your awareness and then by updating the meridians.
Yep. Anybody have another question about spleen and stomach meridian? The other module that we were just working on before that was the bonus module about the chakras, chords, and splits. And I was just wondering if anyone had any questions about chakras or chords or splits. I know we did a lot of work on them this weekend. We didn't do as much with splits, I don't think, as with the other.
Well, I had an awareness of a cord this morning, and the sun hadn't come up yet. And so I unwound it and I threw it out the window to the direction the sun would come, and it wasn't gone. So I finally went and lit a candle and threw it in the candle, and I did it. Now, is that a belief system that, just who knows? But I thought it was really interesting that it didn't go away because the sun wasn't up.
Well, I also wonder if there was more than one.
Well, could be. It took 4 times. Maybe I could have been.
Yeah,
I all by throat, so that would make sense. I'm not supposed to speak.
Yeah, and I find it's so interesting sometimes that in the morning, sometimes you can get corded in dream state because of all the things that
That's going through your head. Yeah, that makes sense.
And the dreaming and a lot of stuff happens. And so sometimes, and I don't know about you guys, but I used to grind my teeth at night. And so there also can be a lot of tension created in your body at night. And so that goes with your teeth or with your back, your stomach muscles, your digestion, as well as these kind of cords that can come in. Does anybody have the experience of their stomach or something being tighter in the morning?
Not that I've noticed.
No? Might be interesting to, we do when we meditate in the morning, we do some deep breathing, and so that helps a lot. I know people that are constipated, when they do some deep breathing, that's very helpful for them. And in the morning, that's a very helpful thing. And that's all, being constipated is about being tight. So, and your body being tight.
So is that truly like a stomach spleen situation going on if you have those issues of like constipation or back and forth or any of that? Is that the restriction of like you said, in the muscles and in different parts?
Yeah, a lot of times with constipation, it's large intestine meridian also, and small intestine meridian. So when you get, especially if you're backed up, large intestine can be out of balance. And we'll learn large intestine later, but it's about family dissolution, large intestine. So people will try to hold on when things are not fixable, and it causes congestion.
The stomach meridian, though, can cause some of the muscles all in the front of your stomach to be tight, and that will tighten up a lot of the the muscles around the meridian, and then that's right where your intestines are. So that has an impact.
Huge.
Yeah. So anything about chakras, cords, or splits? Got it.
I didn't get to that part yet, so I have no questions yet.
Okay.
What Jackie said.
No. Well, what other general questions do you guys have? Or we all ready to go make turkey?
I have a question, and it might have been handled after I left yesterday or Sunday. What's the ethics of working on other people?
Yeah.
One of the things you just said just described my daughter to a T, but I can't go do something for her without her permission, right?
Right.
Would she like you to do it, do you think?
Well, I have a feeling she did. She's actually seen you guys, and I think she really liked what happened. So I could just bring it up to her and ask her.
Yeah, I think that's always the best thing to do, is to communicate with people. We find that it's not very effective to try to bring somebody into a situation that they wouldn't agree to. But if it's a person that you know that they would be open to it, then there's a possibility there. But it's always best to communicate with them. So we have clients that we work on when they're not present. And so we have an agreement that we're going to have a time when we're going to work on them. So that would be the best way to do it if you want to be assisting her in some way. And then when you're doing that, it'd be great if she were on the phone with you. Then you could be talking and muscle testing her with your pendulum. But if she's not available, then it's almost like you're connecting, higher self stuff. Yeah.
Right.
And you can do that anytime with people that you love, as long as you're not trying to court them. And,
Yeah, I saw Antonio say, is it all right if my higher self talks to her higher self? Yeah.
Call me. Absolutely. And you can also, especially if, the intentions are good, and maybe especially if you ask permission at some point, and then you can sit, and then you can just ask your pendulum, pendulum, can you tell can her auric field, can you test her auric field? And then just start asking the questions to her auric field, your pendulum, for her auric field. So you can test her body, and of course we say, get permission.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's generally, although I'm trying to think of any time we do that and not ask. I
think we've worked on our daughters without them knowing that we're working on it at the moment, but they love it when we work on them, so they're kind of open to it.
Yeah,
you've given you permission, open permission.
Exactly.
Well, and we ask when we start, so we'll say, hey, is it okay if we work with you right now? Do you want to communicate, through your higher self? And they might say yes, and we are parents after all.
They hardly ever say no. Right, yeah, definitely helicopter parents, at least back then, for sure. Wasn't the best thing, but that's what it was.
I have a random question about my pendulum. It was doing like yes side to side, and like no was just an immediate stop. But then the other day when I was doing the modules and doing some testing with it, it was going counterclockwise and then sideways. But now it's back to the side to side and immediate stop. So does it just do its own thing? Should I just keep asking it until it gets in a groove, or?
It was funny. I think I was doing a demo on Saturday or Sunday, and mine was like switching mid. One question would be one way, and I was just like, whoa, wait a minute. hello. But when you get used to what it, the two things that it often does, then it's like, yeah, kind of whatever it is it.
You kind of just ask and calibrate at the beginning, like, hey, what's your gas, just to be sure,
Yeah, it's a good idea. And then as you use it more and more, you'll just be like, oh, so is that your yes now?
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it is. I think it's noteworthy when you have an anomaly and it's different than normal to actually say, wow, is there something unusual or unpredictable about what's happening right now? And then your pendulum might start saying, okay, now I'm going to tell you yes and no because you've guessed the right question to ask.
Okay.
And then that might be a portal into something very interesting that was brought on by the pendulum, acting out to try to bring attention to something. We really don't understand always how these things happen. And we notice that stuff changes over time, usually does. So we're always, as these beings who are transforming, especially when we're doing work that is transformational, things change. So it's like you never know exactly what's going to happen.
And then as you get into it more, Erica, we were talking about this on the weekend too, about how like a split, when you get to that, and we can talk more later about it, but how if you have a split, sometimes your pendulum will start acting weird. Or sometimes even with the small intestine meridian, your pendulum will start acting weird. Did you guys all get that note and how that small intestine meridian can act when it has a secret?
I forget what that was.
It moves around really weird.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Maureen?
It moves around really weird. It like acts weird. It just like goes in a different way or yeah.
Yep. So the small intestine meridian is, it's the first thing that you might notice is that your pendulum is acting weird and it moves around weird or something, and it won't give you a firm yes or a firm no. And maybe you're asking something about a past incident that was very difficult. And the key question to ask, there's certain questions you ask when things start acting weird. You ask if there's chords, you ask if there's splits, or you ask, would you tell me if it was? Like say if you're asking, is it stuck? What's a good example, Greg?
Is there fear stuck in your bladder meridian? And if it just gets weird and doesn't really look like a yes or a no, and then you ask another question, or is it more like is fear stuck in the kidney meridian and it still is weird? Or if you just keep getting no, 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 and things that you think, well, yeah, that's yes. Oh, would you tell me if it was? And then it says, no, I wouldn't tell you. So then this is a secret. Oh, would it be okay to talk about the secret that you're referring to? And it still might say no. And then you might say, is this too difficult to even talk about? Yes. Wow, or there's some energy split off of the body about this. Yes. Oh, should we work on that? Yes. And then the body's like, you finally identified, you guessed properly, now we can move on.
Yeah, so that's the example for the splits. If there's a split and then you deal with the split, similarly, if it's acting weird and you say, like he said, would you tell me if it was? And your body's like, no, I ain't telling you nothing. And then you're like, oh, well, is there a secret? And maybe it'll say, yes, there's a secret. And then you say, can we run your small intestine meridian? And usually it'll say yes. And then you run the small intestine meridian And then you can go back and ask the same question, and almost also it will be open to saying, yes, it is fear. There is fear about that incident. There's anger. And it's stuck in this meridian. Do you get that? I know it's a little obtuse situation, but the basic thing is that the small intestine meridian holds secrets. And yeah, go ahead.
And it thinks that if the secret is exposed, that it might put you too much at risk. It's usually a secret that was held from earlier in life to keep you safe. And it's usually not necessary to keep the secret anymore, but your body is saying, you know, when things come up that look like that old thing, I still act as if I have to keep secrets. And keeping secrets is not good for me anymore, that type, because I'm powerful and I have tools now, or that keeps me from being able to interact in the way that I want to in the world. Keeping that secret, it keeps me too shy or small or whatever.
So you
I think you said
know the secret afterwards. When it just lets it, after you work and identify it, you can clear that and it's gone for now.
Yeah.
Or
I mean, you can ask about, you know, if you have an intuitive hit and you say, I wonder if it was about that time when this happened and I never told anybody about it. Or I really felt like if I told somebody about the way that I was about this thing, that they'd really hate me. Or I had these secrets about the way that I thought about somebody else. And if I had told them about it, they wouldn't have been my friend anymore. So now you're keep holding back from people because of that person in your past who you wanted to be your friend, and you do anything to keep them as your friend. Well, that's never very helpful when you're an adult and people are trustworthy or not. And you're, you know, holding secrets from yourself about how you would relate with them. So
Didn't
it's like,
you say over the weekend that the small intestine was also involved in things you don't remember?
can be. So it can cover up things that are just too bizarre and difficult.
Would you then be able to remember?
We have found that and that also has to do with splits, even more about splits. So when you bring splits back in, then you are more able to remember what that time period when there was a split. And the same thing kind of goes with the secrets, but it's not as much, I'd say. But when you allow your brain and your body to reveal your secrets to yourself, then you are able to start bringing up a lot more of those memories. Because it's that whole act of tamping down, right? The secrets, keeping secrets in your body is like stuffing your emotions, basically. And so when you're tamping everything down, the whole object is not to remember it, not to talk about it, not to feel it, not to see it, all of that. So all of this lifting and running the meridians, bringing the splits back in, getting rid of the cords, all of these things assist memory to start. But your body you don't have to be afraid about it, because your body will only let you remember what's pretty much safe to remember when in this kind of work. We've never really seen it where people have had, you know, when they remember a lot of stuff and then freak out about it. That's usually not the way it works. It usually just starts coming back in little fragments, and then you start remembering times. You know, at least that's been my personal experience. So
we also often have people who their first memories of things, especially when they're more traumatic, are more feelings. So they start to have a feeling or feel like the fear from something that happened in the past. They may not ever get the images, but they've got all of the emotion that was stuck behind it. And it's very, very helpful, because then that's like adding a piece of emotional awareness to your tool set.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Good. Oh, goody.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So I had an interesting thing happen this morning. I got my pendulum out to ask it a question. I dropped it and it broke.
Ooh.
Oh, no.
Good thing they make more of them.
We'll send you another one.
Well, the one spoke to me, so that's not the concern. I'm just wondering if there's any significance to it.
You know, I don't think so. That's so interesting because Helen's broke a couple months ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
really,
but
the significant thing is you got to buy another one.
I mean,
Well, it was really pretty. I'm going to use it as a stone, like a stone.
I hate that.
I was like, I wonder if that was, because as you guys were talking about the chords, I'm like, maybe there's just something to do with it. Anyway, some interesting things. My furnace quit just before I got home, and
Your furnace?
yeah. I left my computer cord. That's why my face is so small, a little window, because my computer cord is in Oakland. And I went to buy one last night, and the universal one they told me apparently does not fit. The only computer it doesn't fit is mine.
Oh, no.
So I'm going to use my little reader.
And it's not even Mercury retrograde.
Yeah, so I'm obviously not meant to work. I'm like still diving right back into my computer work is what I figure.
I think you should go to a movie.
Yeah, maybe.
That's what I hear.
Yeah. My furnace is not bad. My friend came and fixed it. He's a plumber, so he fixed it. So it's already fixed. But I was like, well, it's interesting that it just, because the people who, my tenants and then my cat sitter was here, they said, well, it was kind of, I heard it a couple of days ago, and they thought it was working the night before, and so it must have been as I was flying. or the night, like in the middle of the night.
There,
So
wow. Well, that was 3 things, right?
Yeah.
Happens in 3s. You're done.
I'm done.
Time for a movie.
Well, I just wanted to know because I was like, I wonder if it has anything else, and I dropped it at the wrong angle.
Yeah, no, that's it.
Yeah.
You could ask it. Are you pissed?
I'll ask it because I have my other one.
You know, some people I hear of like, in the shaman realm and other places like that where they will keep their instruments, and then sometime they'll take and they'll ceremonially bury them, burn them, throw them in the ocean, whatever it is. It's take your pick.
Well, you do that with the tea leaves, don't you? I mean, you're careful
with the tea leaves, so
loamy sticks.
Yeah, I mean, the significance of an object that you're using, for transformational work is that there's an energy to it that has to do with what's gone on in your sessions with yourself or other people. And you just deal with it the way you want to. There's no bad juju about stuff like that. It's all about intention. If you took the thing and you put it on the ground and you smashed it with a hammer because you were so pissed about what it was telling you, that probably, that's all about personally how you react to things, and the thing doesn't care. I mean,
I just thought of a really good idea. We were talking about shielding and about how on our property, we put some rose quartz in the corners, and that actually is a really good thought for a broken pendulum, because it's made of that nice stone, is to put it on a boundary somewhere to help protect your boundary.
Oh.
That's actually a really good little place to bury it. Yeah.
Oh.
I'm going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that was my question. It's kind of odd.
You go. it can still work for you that way.
It says no. It doesn't say, it doesn't want to work for me. I said, can I still use, I asked it after it broke. I was like, can I still use it? It said no.
I'm tired.
You can get another one.
Take it to the movie with you. Maybe it'll feel different.
Maybe. And it felt resentment because I left it. I decided it would be the one I'd leave at home, and the other one I would carry with me. One of it. Are you resenting? Are you jealous? Are you jealous?
That's it. You got your answer.
An engineer described this phenomenon as the unremitting hostility of inanimate objects.
That's right. Exactly. What else, you guys? It's awesome.
I have a random question. It may be tied to like, are you alone here when we're doing your work, or chords? It's kind of in between. Like if your empathic skills are really impressed upon, and like you come home with other people's stuff, just clearing it out, or like checking in when you're asking the question, am I alone in my field? Or they're not necessarily chords or anything, but since I haven't gotten to that module, I really don't know. It just came up when you guys were talking. Just thought I should ask.
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, especially for people who, are empaths. And it's very easy to kind of sponge in, other people's energy, and you want to help them. And we don't really know what other people are doing when our energy goes out that way. Mm-hmm. So that is also a stomach and a spleen pancreas issue, or not issue so much, but it's a way to fortify your boundaries so that you can really set up a very nice, energetic way that what you put out is going to go out with love, and that you have your boundary and you first fill yourself up. I think that's really the key for people who work on others and have a lot of empathy for people who are need help, need your support, is to fill yourself up first. That's just the key.
That's been my lesson.
and then to cut the cords. I mean, the whole Hawaiian act of when you leave the space of a person to really, it can be a hug. And then at that hug, it's like, okay, now your energy is going to stay with you. Mine's going to go with me.
Right. Yeah.
And we're done for this moment. I love you. Goodbye.
Right.
Aloha.
Yeah. True.
Erica, did you see the video? I think it was what if you don't get the answers to the 4 questions that you expect you will?
I don't think so. Is that in 2?
I think that's in module 2.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of module 2.
Yeah, so you might be almost right at it. And there's a video that gets at the am I alone in my auric field question.
Okay.
So that'll be helpful. And then after that, going to the bonus module with the chords and, differentiating between the 2.
Yeah, I'm excited about the bonus module because that's a lot of things that come up for me too. So
cool.
Yeah. Perfect.
What?
The chord, the bonus, the chakras.
Yeah.
That I think I'm going to expand more now because that meditation, how did you like that chakra meditation?
It was good.
Good. Yeah.
Inspired.
I think I'll put it in there.
Yeah, it was good.
And now that James knows all about Kegels, we can move forward on that.
Kegels. Everything you ever wanted to know about Kegels.
Oh, any other questions?
Ready to go back to the beginning and watch the modules because I think they'll have a whole different meaning for me.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a great idea So Antonia and I had this realization as we were teaching the practitioners course when we started back in 2007, because every year we'd have to go back and put our lesson plan back together again for the next year. So it's amazing how it affects you personally, just looking at the information from a new perspective. And this week is different than last week. And it's like it just keeps filling you up and making you aware in different ways. So it's really a good thing to do.
Perfect. That's wonderful to do.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Lifetime
But
access.
seriously, I mean, when you go back and look at the earlier things, you've learned so much since then that it makes more sense. So
yeah,
exactly.
Good idea to go back, Linda.
Yeah. Terrific.
Yeah, so in our meditation that we did this morning, there was a Chopra meditation. The daily, what did he call it? The daily thought or the daily whatever it is.
Yeah.
Of course, he uses words that we always think, no, you are that. He was saying something about, you can be the healer and the healed. And we were like, I am the healer and the healed.
Yes.
So that was the meditation this morning. And we are. So
And Cody is.
We are the healers.
Cody. Hey, buddy.
Oh, hi, Cody.
He says, I'm taking care of that. Well, happy Thanksgiving, you guys.
Happy
Thanksgiving.
for you guys.
Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
Levels.
You already had your Thanksgiving, Maureen.
We did.
We'll eat another piece of pumpkin pie for you, though.
All right.
All right. We'll see you all a week from Thursday.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Hey, Ray,
Yes, ma'am.
is Margaret around?
She's at work.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.